Welcome everyone to this special audio edition of Making an Impact YouTube show. I'm your host, Simply Sensational Billy James. I want to apologize first for this being only an audio edition due to some camera issues and time restraints. I was only able to do an audio podcast version of this week's Making an Impact. But since this was the show to determine the new TNA Tag Team Champions, I really wanted to give my thoughts and comments on the show. So, nevertheless, this will be an audio edition only, no video. I'll also talk about, at the end of the show, I'll talk about Taz. Taz is no longer with TNA, and during last night's show, they decided to go ahead and go with the way they originally did it. In case you didn't know, as you probably know, that the shows are taped. They tape like 5, 6, 7 weeks in advance. So what they do is they fly the commentators into Nashville. While they watch the show, they commentate on the show, and then that voice track is put over the show so that you have your commentary. Taz refused to fly down to do this week's show, and pretty much later on he was gone from TNA. The official is they have both chose to part ways, and it's mutual, blah blah blah. But I think we all know the different stories, and I'll talk about that later in the show. But nevertheless, Josh Matthews flew solo this week. So who will replace Taz? Could we see Mike today back at the announcer's booth? I've always liked Mike today. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I think he's very knowledgeable, and he's 10 times better than Michael Cole. Also, we'll talk about other rumors of people that have possibly been trying, have had a tryout as an announcer for TNA. So let's get started and jump right into the heat of things. Okay, we had our first match of the night. We had the Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, taking on the team of James Storm, the Cowboy James Storm, and Khoya of the Revolution. The winners go on to Ultimate X, which will determine the new TNA Tag Team Champions. James Storm and Khoya didn't waste no time. They attacked the Hardys before the bell rung. The Hardys quickly grounded Khoya, sending James Storm flying into the guardrail. Jeff leaped up from the apron with a crossbody to Storm. Matt jumped Khoya, but Khoya caught Matt and dived and drove him into the steel steps. Jeff rolls into the ring as Storm steals and uses a fan's replica championship belt to take a cheap shot on Matt Hardy. Okay, Khoya and James Storm, I have isolated Matt Hardy, and they work cohesively together to keep Matt Hardy down as they double team him and making sure that he cannot get to tag Jeff. Storm connects with a nice double D face buster, which Khoya follows up with a clothesline. They keep the tags quick and fresh. To keep Matt from being able to tag in Jeff. The fans are really into this match. Finally, Matt is finally able to get a break when he hits a side effect on Storm and he gets the hot tag to Jeff. Of course, Jeff comes in and he clears his house with the Revolution. And the thing is that a distraction by Khoya from the outside of the ring, he distracts Jeff long enough for Storm to get a cheap shot in. But it's not enough to keep Jeff Hardy down. He tries for a twist of fate to Khoya and Storm, but they both counter it. Jeff ducks the attempt at the last call, and Storm hits Khoya instead. Matt Hardy scores a twist of fate and then sets on Khoya Khoya up for the Swanton. Matt Hardy hits it and 1, 2, 3, the Hardys are going to Ultimate X for a chance to become the TNA Tag Team Champions. After the match, James Storm was pissed. He went and verbally assaulted and slapped around Khoya. Khoya didn't respond back, so that's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen later down the road. Smart move. I think with Matt and Jeff, you got one of the hottest tag teams in the history of professional wrestling. And we could sit here and we could argue about who's the greatest tag team of all time. But when you look at the Hardys' credentials, you can't deny it. Multi-time WWE Tag Team Champions, former WCW Tag Team Champions. They've done it all. The only tag team that's probably the only other two tag teams I can think of that have had more success when you look at titles is the Dudleys and the Road Warriors. And we'll talk a little about that later in the show. But nevertheless, it was a good match. This was a great way to start off Impact Wrestling, to start off the tag team title tournament. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Hardys can pull out the win in Ultimate X. Okay, we had Eric Young come into the ring pissed off at the world, which isn't new, saying he's don't fuck with me, especially when I'm in this in this bad mood. I'm the #1 contender. I get the title shot before anybody else. And he says, I don't care how many people I got hurt to get it. He says, I want my one-on-one match. He then references attacking Lashley and taking him out. But Kurt Angle comes down and interrupts and pisses Young off even more. And Young tells him, hey, look, I can beat you, I can hurt you. Angle says Young is blinded by the championship and he's a freaking lunatic. Angle says hey, yeah, you want a title match? I'll give it to you next week. But he wants the old Eric Young, not this crazy Eric Young. Angle turns his back on Young, saying, hey, if you're the new Young, you'll attack me. Young just stands there, looks at him, doesn't say anything, and leaves the ring with Angle shaking his head. Interesting. Don't know exactly what TNA's planning on doing there, but it seems to be interesting. I'd be kind of interested to see what's going to happen with this. But it's nice to see Angle get a new opponent. Eric Young, this is fresh. This is something we haven't seen, so this should be a good feud going forward. So, I kind of like it. If you missed the segment, it's not that big of a deal, but still, it was pretty good to watch. Okay, we had our second qualifying match of the night in the Tag Team Title Tournament. The BDC, the Beatdown Clan, Loki and Kenny King representing the BDC, taking on the tag team of the TNA X Division champion, Rockstar Spud, and Mr. Anderson. Sorry, couldn't resist. Before the match, the Beatdown Clan, King and Loki confronted Rockstar Spud, talking about how he's on borrowed time because that title's coming back to the BDC, and it's either going to be Loki or him taking that title back. So the match started. They attacked Spud before the match officially began, and they just go to town on him. and they keep Spud away from making any tag to Anderson as they possibly can. And they just take cheap shots at him while King is mocking Mr. Anderson. Spud tries to get across the ring to get tag in, but he can't because of the rapid tags of the BDC between King and Loki. They keep double teaming him until finally Spud kicks King in the face and he's crawling toward Mr. Anderson. However, King kicks with connect into the midsection and drags Spud back across the ring. Loki now comes in. He locks in a wicked submission and several strikes before he brings Kenny King back into the ring. Spud's able to roll through from a slam by King and is able to go for a pin attempt. He has the win, but the referee never sees the pin because he's distracted by Loki and Anderson. And then it allows King to kick out. Spud connects with the enziguri and almost has the tag when Loki rushes across the ring and knocks Anderson from the apron, which was a smart move on his part. The BDC continue their double team on Spud again. When Anderson charges, he takes out Loki and Kenny King before he tosses Rockstar Spud into their corner, which allows him to get the tag in. So Anderson's finally into the match. Okay, and he goes to town with a fury of clotheslines and back elbows, and he now has control of the match. Anderson tags Spud in, throws him at Loki, who connects with a hurricanrana that sends Loki flying to the outside of the ring. Spud and Anderson poise a double team move on Kenny King. However, Loki slides a chair in. Anderson ejects the chair, which the referee is distracted by it, thinking that Anderson brought the chair in. Spud connects with the underdog to King. However, when he makes the cover, Loki lands on his back with the Warrior Way. King then makes the pin. 1, 2, 3. The BDC are going to Ultimate X. Good match. Interesting that they had Spud take all of the beating, but nevertheless, it was not a bad match, especially considering Spud was in it. I think the right team advanced. King and Loki. I look for these guys to be tag team champions somewhere in the future. When? I don't know. But these two, they make a good tag team combination for the BDC. And it's only a matter of time before, the BDC has the tag team championship in their quartet. But nevertheless, the BDC are going to Ultimate X. They have a chance to get those tag team titles. Will they? We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, we have our fourth match of the night, an unusual tag team combination, Tigre Uno and Jay Rios taking on EC3 and Bram, who EC3 picked as a tag team partner last week. Not a bad match. I had never heard of Jay Riso, but him and Uno seemed to work pretty good together. They were using their high-flying moves at the beginning, which was a little surprise to EC3, especially when Tigre Uno just basically launched himself over the top rope after EC3 had tried to the outside of the ring. However, luckily for EC3, Tyrus caught Uno in midair and slammed him to the floor. This gave EC3 and Bram control as EC3 first worked on Uno and then tagged in Bram. Bram is able to ground the flying Lucha Libre star, and they just work methodically, tagging back and forth, working on Tigre Uno. And during this exchange, there was chants going between the fans that alternating Tigre Uno and EC3. So Bram gets back into the match. He misses an elbow drop that allows Uno to tag in Rios. Rios quickly increases the pace of the match. He flies from the turnbuckles and totes the rope, lands a nice kick to Bram's knee, and then springboards off the ropes with a cutter / net breaker type maneuver. EC3 makes the save as he pushes Rios off the ropes. He uses his arm brace as a cheap shot. Bram connects with the brighter side of suffering. EC3 tags in to make the pin, and now Ethan Carter III, EC3, and Bram advance to Ultimate X. So now we have 2 heel teams and 1 face team in Ultimate X. No brainer here. I'm surprised they just didn't go with EC3 and Tigris working together as a tag team instead of Bram and EC3. Be interested to see what's going to happen here. I think that TNA should have went with the combination of EC3 and Tigris. It would have made more sense, but we'll just have to wait and see. Uno, hadn't seen him in a while, still look fresh and good, and this Jay Rios. Not a bad guy, both masked luchadors, so it'd be interesting to see what their future holds. Most likely they'll have a bright future in the X division. But nevertheless, Bram and EC3 are in Ultimate X for the TNA Tag Team titles. Okay, Christy Hemme's in the ring where she's getting ready to make a big announcement. And what she talks about is she says the one big difference between TNA Wrestling and everyone else is the knockouts. So here come the knockouts themselves. Toting the front of the line is TNA Knockouts champion Taryn Terrell, who's followed behind Gail Kim, then Miss Astastic herself, Brooke, a.k.a. Brooke Tesmacher, six-time TNA world, former six-time TNA Knockouts champion Angelina Love, and bringing up the rear, 5-time former TNA Knockouts champion, the Queen Bee herself, Madison Rayne. Christy Hemme announces with all the knockouts in the ring that next week will be TKO, an entire show dedicated to highlighting the knockouts. Well, Angelina Love quickly takes the mic right out of Christy's hand and says, okay, that sounds really cool and everything, but to be honest with you, the night should be just devoted to me. And she reminds the world once again that she's a record-setting 6 times Knockouts champion. Well, of course, Gail jumps in and says, hey, it's not about any one knockout, it's about the fans. Gail quickly interrupts, Madison quickly interrupts Gail. First, she starts her tirade on Angelina to move out of her way, asking her, how many times have you lost the title to become a 6-time champion? Then she tells Gail that we're tired of hearing you talk about this and talk about your wrestler. And she tells him, don't you all forget, I'm the Queen Bee of this division. Hemme finally grabs the mic back and she announces that one of the matches on TKO will be a 4-way to determine the number 1 contender to the TNA Knockouts title. She announces the match will be Angelina Love versus Gail Kim versus Madison Rayne versus Brooke. Brooke grabs the mic and says she's stoked 3 times champion coming soon, and she's bringing a Texas size ass kicking. So in case you're wondering about Awesome Kong, who is supposed to be the #1 contender to Taryn Terrell's Knockouts title, what's up with that? Well, next week, Taryn Terrell will defend the TNA Knockouts title in the main event against Awesome Kong. Terrence makes it very clear that she is passionate about the Knockouts division. She proves herself every time, and that she's going to prove next week why she deserves to have the title and why she's reigning over the division. That brings out Awesome Kong. She comes down the ring. Taryn Terrell wastes no time going for Awesome Kong. The rest of the knockouts try to separate them, but then all hell breaks loose and knockouts are flying. All the knockouts with the exception of Taryn on the outside the ring. Taryn Terrell climbs the turnbuckle. She hits a nice diving crossbody against all of the knockouts, taking them out. And she finally, defiantly returns to the ring, hoisting that TNA Knockouts title above her head and just shaking that ass. So, going to be awesome next week to see Taryn Terrell versus Awesome Kong for the TNA Knockouts title, and it's 1-on-1. And then we'll have a new #1 contender. Who will it be? Will it be Gail Kim? Will it be Madison Rayne? Will it be Angelina Love? Or will Brooke Tensbacher finally get the chance to become a 3-time Knockouts champion? We'll just have to wait and find out next week. Okay, we had our last qualifying match of the night. The Bromans, Robbie E and Jessie, taking on probably one of my favorite tag teams and probably one of the unlikely tag teams when they form, but they just mesh really good together. The Dirty Heels, both former World TNA Heavyweight Champions. The It Factor, Bobby Roode, and the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries. Well, before the match began, the Dirty Heels went to doing what they do best, playing mind games, and they started with Robbie E, egging him on, making him think that he was better than Jessie, and that he had a chance of beating him, and that he could get himself into the TNA World Heavyweight title picture. And after Robbie leaves, they're looking at each other and like, that's too easy. Anyway, before the match begins, Robbie and Jessie are trying to knock each other out of the way for camera time. But this dissension goes on through continues as they fight over who's going to start the match. Aries doesn't care. He flies over the turnbuckle and drops them both with a double clothesline of sorts. Roode then plants Robbie E with a front slam, and then he and Aries double team Robbie. Jessie tries to make a save, but he gets tossed out of the ring for his efforts, and the assault on Robbie E continues. Robbie comes off the Roode comes off the ropes toward Robbie, but Jesse's able to sweep his legs out from the outside of the ring, and then Robbie connects with a back elbow, and Jesse forces himself in the match. And he commands some offense before screaming to Robbie, "This is how you win a match, you idiot." Well, we get another force tag from Robbie E on Jessie, and Roode's able to counter Robbie's initial offense, but Robbie connects with the clothesline from the second rope. He makes a pin attempt, but Roode kicks out too. Robbie then just locks in a headlock and yells, "That's how, Jessie." Robbie E hits a nice net breaker. Jessie asks for a tag, and the Bromans double team Bobby Roode. But a miscommunication costs him. Roode tags it. Aries unleashes on the Bromans a flurry of offense until Jessie drops him with a high knee and then a credible press slam. The fighting between Jessie and Robbie E continue as Jessie screams, "This is my time," as he and Robbie attempt a bro down. Roode pulls Robbie from the ring. Aries boxes Jessie's ears. Aries continues with a discus forearm. Jessie rolls to the outside, and Aries connects with a sweet suicide dive. Now that Jessie's back in the ring, Aries whips Roode whips Aries into the corner. Aries connects us with a nice running drop kick. Beautiful, followed by a badass spinebuster from Roode. Aries then goes to the top rope. He hits the 450 splash by Big Bob Boom 1, 2, 3. The Dirty Hills, the It Factor, Bobby Roode, and the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries, they get the final slot in Ultimate X, and they have a 1 in 4 chance of becoming TNA Tag Team Champions. This is pretty awesome that the Dirty Hills are back together. After the match, things explode between Jessie and Robbie, and they start coming to blows. DJZ tries to come down and make the save, but he gets pushed for his efforts back and forth by both men until finally it's broken up between Jessie and Robbie. So I guess now we're going to see a feud between Jessie Gonzer and Robbie E. Who's going to be the face? Who's going to be the heel? That's going to be the interesting story. But now we have the table set for Ultimate X to determine the new TNA Tag Team Champions. We have the Hardys, Matt and Jeff. We have the Beatdown Clan, consisting of Low Key and Kenny King. EC3 and his partner Bram. And of course, the Dirty Hills, the It Factor, Bobby Roode, and the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries. So who is going to walk away with those tag team titles? Well, we'll find. Okay, earlier during the show, Homicide was asked by MVP to take out Kurt Angle, which Homicide agreed to. We had a brawl in the back of the parking lot with Homicide attacking Angle, and it spilled into the arena. And Homicide was just vicious as he was driving a chair into Angle's throat and such. The crowd was chanting, "Let's go Angle," and they was also a chant BDC. Angle was Homicide took his boot off and went to hit Angle with loaded boot, but Angle ducks it, and he's able to lock in the Angle lock on Homicide, who now has a protection on that leg, on that ankle. The rest of the BDC come down, and they start attacking Angle. MVP hits the blackout kick on Angle. Then the Rising, Drew Galloway, Eli Drake, and Masika come down to Angle's aid, and we have a brawl just going across the ring. MVP is about to get one last shot on Angle as the Rising are taking care of King, Low Key, and Homicide. But all out of the shock of everybody, Eric Young comes down and stops MVP from attacking Angle with the chair. Young takes the chair away, holds it, and then when Angle rises, they stare each other down. Young drops the chair and leaves. I have no idea what TNA is doing with this Angle. It's interesting, but I have no idea what they're doing and why they're doing it this way. But nevertheless, next week when Kurt Angle defends the TNA World Heavyweight title against Eric Young, it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of Eric Young we get. But I guess we'll have to wait to find out next week. Okay, this is the match we've been waiting for. Ultimate X to determine the new TNA Tag Team Champions. The Hardys versus the BDC versus EC3 and Bram versus the Dirty Heels. Okay, well, match started out with a brawl in the ring. In case you didn't know, Ultimate X was a tag team version of it. There are no tags. It's a Tornadoes rules match. Basically means both members of the team can be in the ring at the same time. Okay, well, they went at it, and it was just a free-for-all until we just had the Hardys and the Dirty Heels in the ring. They then come face-to-face. Dirty Heels, they take the advantage when Roode hits a nice clothesline, dropping Jeff. Aries connects us with a discus forearm to Matt, and then the Dirty Heels are in the driver's seat. However, EC3, the Beatdown Clan, EC3 and Bram make their way back into the match. The Beatdown Clan takes control of the Hardys as EC3 and Bram squares off with the Dirty Heels. And once the Dirty Heels and the Hardys are taken out, the BDC, EC3 and Bram, they all go at it. The BDC gets sent to the outside of the ring where Tigre takes them out. In the ring, Bram shoves EC3 and tells him, "You climb up there and get those belts." EC3's like, "Dude, I've got an arm brace. I can't climb." So Bram goes and draws a ladder from underneath the ring. EC3 and Bram use the ladder to begin their ascent. However, the Hardys make the save and use the ladder as a weapon. They take out EC3, Bram. Then they take out the Dirty Heels, Aries and Roode. The Hardys starts climbing the structure of Ultimate X, but BDC's in now. All four men are scrambling their way for those belts until Tigre, he starts shaking the entire structure from the outside of the ring, and it knocks all four men to the mat. Tigre slides in, and he takes out the BDC and the Hardys. This gives a clean slate to EC3 to get those tag team titles. He hops on the shoulders of Tigris, and Tigris puts him in the position in the center of the ring to get those tag team titles. But Aries connects with a missile drop kick to Tigris' face, which takes down EC3, stopping him from getting those tag team titles. Bram wastes no time getting back in the ring and hits a vicious clothesline on Aries before mounting the ladder against the turnbuckle, and he whips Aries into the ladder. Aries comes back with a discus forearm that sets Bram up for a diving net breaker from Roode, which was very devastating. The heels send Bram crashing into the ladder. Aries then connects with a running drop kick, and Roode finishes him off with a spine buster. Roode climbs the structure, guiding his hands across the rope. Very smart. He puts his feet on Aries' shoulder, and Aries walks him over to the belt. Then Homicide of the BDC decides to stick his nose into the match, taking out Roode and Aries. But this doesn't last for long. Hardy gets back in the ring. He takes out Homicide with a side effect, and now it's him and Kid King trying to climb that ladder. They brawl on top of the ladder until the Hardys tip the scale and connect with a twist of fate from, Matt Hardy is able to hit a twist of fate from the top of the ladder. Loki comes out of nowhere onto the ladder and battles both Hardys. He alternates between punching Matt and swinging from the wires, kicking toward Jeff, who's walking the top of the wires. A well-placed kick sends Matt flying off of the ladder, but Matt comes off the ropes and shoves the ladder away. Like Jeff, Loki's hanging from the ropes. Jeff kicks Loki. Loki falls to the mat. Jeff's hanging there until Matt puts the ladder back in place, joins his brother, and they both grab the belts, and they are now the new TNA Tag Team Champions. For the first time in their careers, they are now the TNA Tag Team Champions. Great match. This was the best match of the night. I give it to all four teams, but Hardy's. I think was a smart move. Put the tag team titles on them. They're probably, as a tag team, they're probably the biggest draw of any tag team out there. Right now in professional wrestling. You may argue the Usos and the Wolves, but the Hardys are right at the top of things. Just to show you how illustrious the team of the Hardys are. Former New Dimension Tag Team Champions, New Dimension Wrestling Tag Team Champions, NWA 2000 former Tag Team Champions, Omega Tag Team Champions, former Tag Team Champions, one-time WCW Tag Team Champions, six-time World Tag Team Champions. That is very interesting to know that. Also, so they've held about every major belt. They've held the WWE Tag Team titles, WCW, and the TNA. The Dudleys are the only tag team that can clearly say they've held every major promotion's title belt. New Pro Japan Wrestling, ECW, WCW, NWA, WWE, and TNA tag team titles. The other tag team that I had mentioned, the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, probably one of the most decorated tag teams in wrestling. All Japan Pro Wrestling International Tag Team Champions, AWA Tag Team Champions, Fighting World of Japan Pro Wrestling World Japan Tag Team Champions. They've held regional tag team titles in wrestling. The only titles that they did not hold are the WCW tag team titles. So, anyway, great match. Ultimate X, great match. We now have new TNA Tag Team Champions, the Hardys. Who will be the first tag team to challenge the Hardys for those titles? Your guess is as good as mine, but if I had to take a ballpark guess, I say it's going to be the Beatdown Clan, a combination of the Beatdown Clan. So, if you missed this match, this is the match you got to go back and watch, because this was the match of the night for sure. All right. Superstars of the week, I have to say, have to be Matt and Jeff Hardy, the new TNA World Tag Team Champions. All the men were great in this match, but hey, got to give it to the new Tag Team Champions. Also, I'm kind of interested to see where the split between the bromans is going to go. That's kind of going to be interesting to see how they change things up with Robbie E, Jessie Sorensen, Jesse Gonners, and DJ Z. Also, it's going to be interesting to see what's going on with James Storm and the Revolution. Is that group going to split up, or are they going to be tired ever? What's going on with that? A lot of things going to be interesting to see. But next week, the Knockouts take over as it's TKO, a night of the Knockouts. We already know that Taryn Terrell will defend the TNA Knockouts title against Awesome Kong, who's the current number one contender. Also, a four-way to determine the new number one contender to the TNA Knockouts title. It will be Angelina Love versus Madison Rain versus Gail Kim versus Brooke, a.k.a. Brooke Tessmacher. All four women are former TNA Knockouts champion. Angelina Love, 6-time former TNA Knockouts champion. Madison Rain, 5 times former Knockouts champion. Gail Kim, 4 times former Knockouts champion. And Brooke, a former 3-time Knockouts champion. Also next week will be the debut of the Dollhouse. Jade and Martina Bell. I hope I pronounced that right. In case you didn't know, Jade is known on the independent circuit as Mia Yim. Former Shines Women's Champion. She recently held that illustrious title when she defeated Levis for that title on an international run in China. Actually, that was a live event in the WWN Live China Tour, and that was in Beijing, China. She defeated Levis, who had held that title for 269 days. But unfortunately for Mia Yim, her title reign ended recently when she was defeated by Santara Garrett, formerly known as Brittany in TNA. It was a title versus title match with Garrett's NWA World Women's Championship on the line. But nevertheless, now Mia Yim is coming to TNA along with Martina Bell as the Dollhouse. Also, we're supposed to get an announcement on the future of Mickie James. Are we going to see Mickie James back in the ring? Is Mickie retiring? What is going on with Mickie James as far as wrestling? What is going to happen? That I can't wait to find out, and much more. Plus, we're going to get Kurt Angle versus Eric Young for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Much more. Okay, talked about it earlier. Taz, he's no longer with TNA. He's gone. He's done. Okay, the word is it was an argument over pay. I'm sure you've heard the rumors about TNA being behind on paying employees and such. It was said that Taz was pissed off, and he says, "Nope, I'm not coming." Nevertheless, Taz is now gone. Myself, I think it's for the benefit of TNA that he's gone. His announcement was horrendous. It was terrible with Mike today, and it was a little tolerable with Josh Matthews. Taz, they brought in Taz to replace Don West, which was the most stupidest thing because Don West and Mike today had chemistry together. And now Don West is gone from TNA and he's moved on. Just about every original person in TNA is behind the scenes is gone. Even Jimmy J, who was Don West's protege. I've met Jimmy J. He's a cool dude. Met him at several different house shows, and I'm sad that he's gone. He was a really cool dude. Was always did right by me. He always made sure I got hooked up with stuff. He took care of me at these house shows. Awesome dude. I hate that he's gone. Hopefully, when the TNA starts going back to doing live tours, maybe they'll bring Jimmy J back. I hope so. Jimmy J's a cool dude. Great guy. But with Taz, I'd rather see him as a manager as an announcer. He sucks as an announcer. Probably the only person that sucks worse at announcing than Mike, besides Taz, is Michael Cole. So TNA losing Taz, it's a benefit, not a loss, in my opinion. $1 million question is, who's going to replace Taz on the commentating team? I would say let's bring back Mike Tenay. Mike Tenay is an experienced announcer. He knows what he's doing. I think him and Josh would have some good chemistry. Bring back Mike Tenay. Or maybe they'll find a new person. Rumors is that they've tried Al Snow out. But Al Snow is a head producer, so but it really doesn't affect him that much because they are not doing live shows, so he's only coming into Nashville to record the audio tracks. So that may work. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, guys, Explain the reason why earlier why this was a audio show only. One reason is that I was having some issues with my video camera, but the other issue is time constraints. There's a local promotion that's come to my area called New Heights Wrestling that I'm going to check out tonight and see how it is. So that's the reason for the time restraints. So anyway, want to thank you guys for joining me. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I could not believe this myself. I was like, holy crap. I want to thank you all who have been watching and making, no pun intended, making an Impact YouTube show a stunning success. You guys really outdone yourselves. I just can't believe this. Give me a second. I'm trying to bring up the numbers so I can read off the numbers. As of right now, last week's show had 117 views. I can't make this up. I am so stoked. Thank you guys. I appreciate it, guys. You're I can't tell you how much I really appreciate it. So that's it for this week's edition of Making an Impact. I've been your host, Simply Sensational Billy James. Just FYI, next week we should be back to regular format show. The weekend of May 2nd is going to be a iffy if we have a show. If we do, it will be audio only. I've got work that Saturday, so I don't know what my schedule is going to be like after I get off work. Because I'm sure some of you out there in life, you've got other things and obligations that's going on in your life. Some of you are probably like me, married, have a wife, and your wife doesn't care that much for wrestling. So anyway, guys, thank you again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Plug time. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday night. It's on the Blog Talk Radio, brought to you by the Nerdport Network, the Wrestling Debate. Join myself, along with my partner in crime and co-host, John P. Mayer, and we have on Andrew, JD, Jaime, Stat Boy, Sean the Shark Williams, Sharp Guy, Summer, Michelle, and we are talking about WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Syndicate. We even a little Lucha Libre. We talk about it all. And this week's show, we will be giving our thoughts and predictions for Extreme Rules, which is 1 week from tomorrow. Also, don't forget to join Wednesdays on the Blog Talk Radio. John P. Mayer, once again my good buddy and partner in crime, hosts an independent point of view, where John has his finger on the pulse of independent wrestling, especially up in the Jersey area with Pro Wrestling Syndicate. He gets some great interviews, and you got to check it out. It's awesome. It's every Wednesday night on the Blog Talk Radio, brought to you by the Nerdport Network. Check the Nerdport Network's Facebook page for exact times. Well, that's it for this week's audio edition of Making an Impact. I've been your host, Simply Sensational Billy James, and we'll catch you all next week.